There are moments in life when a simple knock on the door changes everything. I never imagined that my quiet afternoon would turn into a conversation that made me question what I thought I knew about family, love, and the silent struggles we carry. When my nephew showed up unannounced, I thought he just wanted to say hello. I had no idea he would open a part of himself I'd never seen, and that it would stay in my heart forever. Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts or story in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. Now, before I begin, tell me, where are you watching from? I'd love to know which cities and towns are joining me for this memory that stayed with me for years. That afternoon was calm in the way only late Sundays can be. The sky was soft and gray, and the house felt unusually still. I had just finished tidying the kitchen when I heard a soft knock on the door, gentle, hesitant. When I opened it, I was surprised to see my nephew, Daniel, standing there with his hands in his pockets, eyes tired but kind. He usually called before dropping by, so the unexpected visit instantly made me curious. "Aunt Mary, can I come in?" he asked quietly. "Of course," I said, stepping aside. "You know you're always welcome." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. That was the first moment I felt something was different. He walked inside slowly, almost like he was carrying something heavy inside him. I offered him tea, and he nodded. His silence filled the space between us more than any words could. As the kettle boiled, I watched him sit on the couch, shoulders slightly slouched, staring at the floor like he was deep in thought. I had known Daniel since he was a child, energetic, cheerful, always cracking jokes. But now, at 25, he looked older in a way that had nothing to do with age. When I handed him the tea, he held the mug with both hands, warming them. For a moment, neither of us said anything. The soft ticking of the clock on the wall felt louder than usual. I didn't want to pressure him, but I also knew he didn't come here just to sit in silence. "Everything okay?" I finally asked. He let out a small breath. "I don't know." That answer tugged at my heart. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but it was honest. And honesty can be heavier than anything else. He glanced around the room, almost like he was searching for the right words. I just needed somewhere quiet. Somewhere that feels like home. That sentence alone meant more to me than he realized. "You can always come here," I said gently. "You don't have to explain anything before you're ready." He looked up, and this time his eyes met mine. There was vulnerability there, the kind people work hard to hide. He nodded slowly, like he appreciated not being pushed. We sat in the living room, the soft hum of the heater in the background. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, and the light through the window made everything feel peaceful. Yet underneath that peace, I could sense a quiet tension in him, like he was holding back a storm. After a few minutes, he spoke again, barely above a whisper. "Do you ever feel like people expect you to be strong all the time?" I looked at him carefully. "Sometimes, but even strong people are allowed to break." His jaw tightened, and he swallowed hard. I could see him fighting emotions he didn't want to show. It was then I realized, this wasn't just a visit. This was a reaching out, a quiet plea. I leaned back, giving him space. "You don't have to be strong with me," I said softly. "Not here." He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be. The one who ran to me with scraped knees, trusting I could fix anything. Only now, the wounds were deeper, and I wasn't sure how to help yet. He didn't say another word, but he stayed. And somehow, his silence said more than any explanation could. I didn't know what he was carrying, but I knew this was only the beginning of what he came to tell me. And in that quiet living room, with tea growing cold between us, I felt a shift in the air, as if something important was about to unfold. The next few days passed quietly, but I couldn't get Daniel's expression out of my mind. There was something in his eyes that lingered with me, an unspoken weight, a story he hadn't finished telling. So when he texted, "Can I come by again?" I replied yes without hesitation. It was late afternoon when he arrived. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow through the curtains. I had baked some cornbread, hoping a familiar smell would make him feel comfortable. When he stepped inside, he gave a small smile, but just like before, it didn't last long. "I didn't know if you'd be busy," he said, almost apologetically. "You're never a bother," I replied. "Sit." I made cornbread. He sat at the kitchen table, shoulders slightly tense. I could tell he was trying to find the right moment to speak. I didn't rush him. I moved slowly, setting the cornbread down, pouring 2 glasses of water. I wanted the space between us to feel safe. For a while, we just talked about normal things, work, the weather, little stories. But underneath our words was a quiet current pulling us toward something deeper. Finally, I set my glass down and looked at him. "Daniel, last time you were here, you seemed like something was on your mind. You don't have to tell me anything, but I'm here if you want to." He stared at the table for a long moment, then nodded. He took a slow breath, like he was preparing himself. "Aunt Mary," he said softly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." He hesitated. "Did you ever feel like your life turned out different than you thought it would?" The question surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be about me. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. "Yes," I said honestly. "More than once." He looked up. "And did it scare you? Not knowing what comes next?" I saw the truth then. He wasn't asking about my past. He was asking about his future. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but I learned something important. Life doesn't always give us answers right away. Sometimes it just gives us moments, and we have to decide what to do with them." Daniel's eyes softened, but his voice trembled slightly. "What if I'd already made the wrong choice?" "Then you make a better one next." He looked away, blinking. His hand tightened around his glass. "It's not that easy." "No," I said gently, "but it's possible." Silence settled between us again, but this time it felt heavier, like we were standing at the edge of something delicate and real. He breathed in deeply, then lowered his voice. "I've been keeping something to myself for a long time, and I thought I could just carry it, pretend everything was fine, but it's exhausting." My heart ached. "Daniel," I said softly, "whatever it is, you don't have to go through it alone." His eyes glistened, not quite tears, but close. He looked at me with a mixture of fear and relief. This was the moment he had come for. "Aunt Mary," he said quietly, "there's something about me you don't know." The room felt suddenly still. The ticking clock, the fading sunlight, even the air seemed to pause. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just listened with my whole heart. Because I knew whatever he was about to say would change how I saw him. And maybe how I saw myself too. The silence after his last words lingered in my mind for days. I could feel that he was standing at the edge of something painful, something important, and I knew pushing him would only make him retreat. So I waited. I checked in on him with small messages, gentle invitations, never demanding, just reminding him I was here. A few evenings later, he asked if he could come over again. This time, his message was short. "Can we talk?" When he arrived, it was already dark outside. The porch light cast a soft circle around him as he walked in, his expression serious but calmer than before. He didn't sit right away. He moved slowly around the living room, looking at framed photos on the shelves. Him as a child on Christmas morning, our family reunion at the lake, his graduation day. He stopped at the photo of him and his father, my brother, standing side by side. I noticed the way his eyes lingered on it. You and Dad never really talked about feelings, did you? He asked quietly, not turning toward me. I shook my head. He wasn't raised to. Our parents believed strength meant silence. He nodded slowly. That's how I was raised, even if no one said it out loud. He finally sat down on the edge of the sofa, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. I sat beside him, carefully giving him space but staying close enough so he knew he wasn't alone. Aunt Mary, he said, his voice low and steady, I think I've been pretending to be someone I'm not, just to make everyone comfortable. My chest tightened, but I stayed calm. That sounds exhausting. It is. He let out a shaky breath. I wake up every day and feel like I'm putting on a costume, smiling when I don't want to, agreeing when I don't, nodding when something feels wrong inside. His fingers trembled slightly. He looked down at his hands like they belonged to someone else. I don't even know who I really am anymore, he whispered. I felt that sentence more deeply than he knew. I remembered moments in my own life where I had felt lost, unsure of myself. I remembered pretending I was fine just to keep peace. I remembered nights where silence was safer than honesty. Daniel, I said gently, you don't have to know everything right now. You just have to start being honest with yourself. He swallowed. But what if the truth disappoints people? I looked at him firmly. Then those people never truly loved you in the first place. He blinked, surprised by the certainty in my voice. I could see his eyes soften, as if those words reached a place inside him that had been waiting to hear them. He leaned back slowly, shoulders dropping just a little. I'm so tired of hiding. You don't have to hide here, I said softly. Not from me. For several seconds, he stared at the ceiling, breathing carefully. I stayed silent, letting him gather his courage. Then he turned to me. Aunt Mary, he said, voice trembling, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've never said out loud. My heart pounded, but I kept my face calm, open, ready. I don't know how you'll react, he continued, and that scares me more than anything, because your opinion of me matters. I gently placed my hand over his. I love you, I said simply. Whatever you tell me will not change that. He closed his eyes, a single tear slipping down. When he opened them again, I saw it, the moment he finally decided to stop hiding. And with a fragile, brave breath, he began to speak. He was quiet for a moment, as if gathering every bit of strength he had. His fingers tightened slightly around mine, and when he finally spoke, his voice was soft, but steady. I've been living with something that I've been too afraid to say, he began. Not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I was scared of how people would see me afterward. I listened carefully, every part of me focused on him. His voice, his breathing, the way his eyes kept flickering to the window like he needed something solid to look at. I've been struggling for a long time, he continued, not just with work or stress or life, but with myself. I've felt alone even when I'm surrounded by people. I've pretended to be okay so no one would worry, because in this family, we don't really talk about the hard stuff. His voice cracked, but he didn't stop. There are days I wake up and feel like I'm drowning on the inside, but I still put on a smile. I still act normal, because I thought if I showed how I really felt, I'd disappoint everyone. A quiet ache formed in my chest, not because I was shocked, but because I wished I had seen it sooner. I didn't want you to think I was weak, he whispered. My heart broke at that. Daniel, I said gently, feeling pain doesn't make you weak. Hiding it does. He looked at me then, eyes glistening. That sentence seemed to hit him deeply. I've gone through things I never told anyone about, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. I've been hurt in ways I didn't know how to process, And instead of dealing with it, I buried it. I told myself to just move on, but it followed me. I could feel the weight in each word, years of silence, pressure, expectations. I don't want to pretend anymore, he said, breathing shakily. I want to live honestly. I want to know who I am without fear. I want to stop carrying this alone. I nodded slowly, my throat tight with emotion. You don't have to carry it alone, I said. Not anymore. He stared at me, surprised. You're not upset? Upset? I shook my head. Daniel, I'm proud of you. The tear he had been holding back finally slipped free. Proud, he repeated, almost confused. Yes, I said firmly, because it takes real courage to speak the truth. Most people never do. You did. His shoulders trembled. Relief, emotion, release, all at once. I moved closer and gently placed my arm around him, not in pity, but in love. He leaned into me just slightly, as if allowing himself to be held for the first time in years. Aunt Mary, he said quietly, I was so afraid you'd see me differently. I squeezed his hand. I do see you differently, I replied. I see you stronger, braver, more real. For the first time that evening he smiled, truly smiled, not forced, not polite, but free. The room felt different now, lighter, warmer, more open. It was as if the house itself exhaled with us. There was still so much he hadn't said, so much we would talk about. But this moment, this was the doorway, the beginning of healing, of truth, of understanding. He looked at me, his eyes calm, his voice steady. There's more I want to share, he said softly. Things about my past, things about who I really am, things I've never told anyone. I nodded. I'm listening. He took a deep breath, a cleansing breath, like he was finally ready. And as he continued, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This quiet visit had turned into something far more powerful. It wasn't just his truth being revealed. It was our relationship being transformed forever.